Chapter 5 Li Mingwei stayed in the cellar under the firewood pile at the relay station for 10 whole days until the people from the Li residence finished searching the people at the relay station and went further away to chase after her before she was let out. Miss, the little brother handed her a plain set of clothes for her to change into, and also gave her a pair of worn shoes. You can't keep what you have on. Li Mingwei nodded. She took off the fancy clothes and jewelry she had been wearing. She hadn't washed much in recent days and was already somewhat smelly. Is there any water for me to clean myself with? The little brother shook his head and smeared some potash on her face. You have to be like this so you won't be discovered. All right. In order to escape, Li Mingwei chose to compromise. She gave all her jewelry to the little brother, only keeping a gold hairpin inlaid with a lot of pearls. The pearls on it were all very valuable and could be pawned if necessary. Keep this handkerchief. 5 days after I leave, bring it to the Li residence. As for the other things, do whatever you want with them. Sell them for money or use them yourself. Just be careful. Miss, where are you going? Li Mingwei shook her head. She didn't know either. Anyway, she didn't want to stay in the capital anymore. She casually picked up a piece of firewood and tossed it on the ground. The firewood pointed northeast. I'm going northeast. The little brother felt she was being rather casual, but he didn't say anything. He gave her some copper coins and helped her hide the silver bills, instructing, don't flaunt your wealth. Hide those things well, and hide your face well too. Being dirty and smelly doesn't matter. Safety comes first. Oh right, miss, do you have anything that officials could use to send you back if they saw it, or that could help get a message sent back to the capital if you met bad people, so you'd have a way out? Li Mingwei tightened her grip on the gold hairpin. Her grandfather had given it to her and it had her grandfather's mark on it. She didn't know if it would be useful, but her grandfather's students would definitely be able to recognize it. Her grandfather's disciples were everywhere. She would find a place governed by one of her grandfather's students to stay when the time came. There shouldn't be a problem. Having made up her mind, Li Mingwei put on her little bundle, stuffed 2 steamed buns in, and headed northeast under the dark of early morning. All along the way, she endured the stench on her body and learned to conceal herself. She curled up in corners, finished the steamed buns, then quietly set off again. It was the 5th day since she had run away. She wondered if he had followed her instructions to deliver the handkerchief to the Li residence, and how her grandfather and parents would react when they saw it. Li Yi took the handkerchief from the servant with shaking hands. His granddaughter had been missing for half a month. He had thought she was really. Li Mingwei had written her farewell note in blood on the handkerchief. Unfilial Mingwei has made grandfather and father and mother worry. I have been doted on by all my elders since I was little, and have never experienced the hardships of the mortal world or seen through people clearly. I want to go out and gain more experience. Please put your minds at ease, elders. I will protect myself well. When I have seen the ways of the world, I will come back. Do not make things difficult for the person delivering this message. I asked him to do it. Zhang Duji supported his sobbing wife, Li Langgaiu, and asked the messenger, where did you get this handwriting? The young miss gave it to me before she left. Where did she go? The little brother kept his head down and didn't reply. He had promised the young miss not to tell. You. She's just a young girl and doesn't know martial arts. How could you help her run away? If she wanted to go out and see the world, I could have prepared transport and guards and attendants for her to go wherever she wanted. The little brother stubbornly kept his promise and refused to speak. Even Li Yi was moved. He helped the boy to his feet. All right, he's just keeping his word. If he doesn't want to say, we won't ask. He looked at the steward and ordered, find some work for him at the residence. Li Langgaiu cried loudly in anguish. Grandfather, how can you not ask? They're there. This was her own choice. No matter the outcome, she has to bear it herself. Just like back then when she insisted on marrying Murangyu. Li Langgaiu didn't agree. She only had this one daughter. How could she allow her to wander destitute out there? She flounced off, determined that no matter what, she would find her daughter and bring her back. Li Yi dismissed everyone and a look of grief also appeared on his face. How could he not worry about his granddaughter? But as the saying goes, as free as birds in the sky and fish leaping in the sea, perhaps only by going out could she truly grow up. May the sages protect her and keep her safe. I hope Mingwei can come back peacefully. Li Mingwei knelt before the Buddha and likewise prayed for her family back in the capital to be safe and healthy. She was staying the night at a shabby little temple today, because it hadn't been maintained for many years. The coating on the Buddha statue had peeled off in places. But the two monks, one old and one young, still gave her and the other travelers a free bowl of thin gruel. "Thank you, master." Li Mingwei took the watery porridge and drank a mouthful. The long-absent warmth made her feel a bit comfortable. After finishing the porridge, she helped the little monk clean up the bowls and chopsticks. The clear water washed the dirt from her hands. The little monk noticed her fair, delicate fingers that did not match her attire at all, and gave her another look over. "Where are you headed, laywoman?" "Northeast. To visit family or friends." "Traveling." The little monk saw her appearance and suddenly laughed without saying anything more. After washing the utensils, he let her rest alone in the rear courtyard. "Have a good rest, miss. My quarters are right in front. Call if you need anything." "Thank you, little master." Lying on the rather hard wooden bed, Li Mingwei soon felt sore in her back and waist. Still, after walking every day for so many days, she was already exhausted enough to sleep very soundly. In the morning she was woken by the bells and chanting. She quickly got up to tidy her belongings. When she suddenly caught sight of her own snow-white hands and understood the special favor the little master had shown her yesterday, she put on her travel pack and left a few copper coins behind before slipping quietly out the back door. After she got outside, she rubbed her hands on the ground to cover them with dust again. She warned herself not to make such a low-level mistake again in the future. She made it through early summer and endured midsummer, crawling slowly along like a snail and leaving her marks in different places. Finally, in early autumn, she decided to stop. She was very far from the capital already, and she was exhausted. More importantly, she was almost out of money. Looking at the tall city gates not far away, she asked a passing traveler, "What place is this?" "Anhui County." "Anhui County." She didn't have much of an impression. It looked rather large, but she didn't go into the city. She took another small path and walked along that instead. She planned to stay in a town or village like before. Accommodations in the county city were too expensive and she would be easier to discover. Over an hour later, she arrived at a place called Qingxi Town. Qingxi Town wasn't very big. She strolled up and down the streets and had basically covered the entire town. She went into a small shop. "May I ask if you still have rooms available?" The shop owner sized her up very directly. 15 coins per night for the cheapest, and I can bring you a bucket of hot water. Li Mingwei sighed at the owner's precise calculations. She counted out 15 coins for her. That left her with only 3 coins. Chapter 6. The landlady took her upstairs and opened a small room at the top of the stairs. There was only a bed and a set of table and chairs inside, but it was quite spacious and worth the price. Li Mingwei walked into the room and waited for the landlady to bring hot water before closing the door and taking off her outer clothes to put them aside. She used a towel to wipe her body and hair. It had been half a month since she last washed her hair. Her hair strands were tangled together. By the time she finished tidying up, the sky was already dark and she didn't dare to go out. She could only endure the hunger and go to bed first. Fortunately, the inn's quilt was very soft. She wrapped herself up like a worm, which gave her a greater sense of security. Before falling asleep, she was still scheming and wanted to find a slightly bigger and more prosperous town. She had already discovered that in towns and villages that were too small, people were too sensitive towards strangers. Whenever she appeared, she could attract many eyes. "I'll leave this place tomorrow first and go to the county to exchange some money." After making the decision, she closed her eyes until the rooster's cry woke her up in the small shop. She quickly tidied up her luggage. With her last 3 coins, she bought 2 bonds, intending to go to the county, but the strap of her bundle broke and her clothes spilled out. She bit the bond, unable to make a sound. Fortunately, there were not many people on the street in the early morning. She hastily wrapped everything up and tidied it in a quiet alley. She folded her clothes and held the gold hairpin, wondering whether to exchange it for silver notes or take it apart to sell the pearls. Just as she was thinking about it, there were footsteps. She quickly hid the gold hairpin and looked towards the alley entrance. 3 or 4 youths were converging on her. One youth walking in front leered at her. "Don't hide it. I've already seen it." "Hair. Didn't expect you to have something so nice looking like this." "Who knows where she got it from? Who cares? Anyway, it's ours now." As they spoke, they had already come close. Li Mingwei retreated step by step until her back touched the wall and there was nowhere to go. "Go away. Help. They're robbing." She used the bundle to hit them and shouted loudly for help. One person immediately came up to cover her mouth, snatched away the bundle and handed it back for the others to search. The youth was very strong. No matter how hard she struggled, She couldn't break free. She watched helplessly as they took her gold hairpin. Nice stuff. Gold. Must be worth a lot. Where do you think she got it? Does she have anything else on her? The others understood instantly. They reached out and started frisking her body. Li Mingwei felt somewhat desperate. She had thought nothing would happen to her like this. What are you guys doing? A loud shout rang out. The four youths turned around at the same time, looking a little panicked. They clearly recognized the burly man in front of them and were somewhat timid, shaking their heads repeatedly. Nothing, nothing. Li Mingwei took the opportunity to break free from their grasp and shouted loudly, "They robbed my stuff." When the man heard this, he cracked his knuckles, strode forward and said, "Give it back to her." Unwilling to let go of the good stuff they just got, the four looked at each other and rushed forward together to fight with the man. In no time at all, they were beaten down to the ground by the man. "Where's the stuff?" Li Mingwei pointed to the one who took her gold hairpin. "On him." The man fished out the gold hairpin and returned it to her, then gave each of them a kick and let them go. "Aren't you reporting them to the authorities?" "Report? What's the use? These kinds of petty thieves get locked up for a few days then let out again. When they come back they'll definitely take revenge on you. Since I'm letting them go now, they won't hold a grudge." Li Mingwei noticed the familiarity between them and didn't say much. She thanked the man for his help. The man helped Li Mingwei tidy the bundle and warned again, "Don't flaunt your wealth. As a woman, it's best you're more careful." "Thank you, brother." Hearing her accent, the man asked, "You're not originally from here. What are you doing here?" Li Mingwei hesitated and sorted out her thoughts. "I have nowhere else to go." The man looked surprised and glanced at her dirty clothes. "How come?" "After 3 years of marriage with no children, my husband divorced me so I left. I don't know where else to go." "Brother, do you know anywhere around here I can go?" The man hesitated for a while. "Forget it. Just come with me for now. My wife should know. You can ask her later on." The man before her hadn't shown a trace of greed at her gold hairpin and he also saved her life. Li Mingwei decided to trust him and follow him back home. On the way, the man briefly introduced himself. His name was Dong Shan and he was a hunter in Qingxi town. His wife was named Wang Chunhua from Xinghua village nearby. They had a son and a daughter. Their son was now 6 years old and going to school. Their daughter still couldn't walk. Li Mingwei faithfully memorized everything. The Dong family lived in town, so they didn't walk long before arriving. Dong Shan pushed open the door and went in. A slightly plump woman poked her head out of the room. "You just left. Why are you back already?" Dong Shan invited Li Mingwei in. Li Mingwei stood nervously in the courtyard, accepting the woman's back and forth glances. "Who is this?" Dong Shan explained. "Just now after I went out, I saw Wu Dong and them robbing her stuff, so I helped her fight them off. She is divorced from her husband's family and had nowhere else to go. I was thinking of bringing her back for you to see if there is any work that can be found for her." Wang Chunhua nodded and walked up to Li Mingwei with a hint of suspicion on her face. "Why did you divorce your husband's family? 3 years of marriage without children. There was nothing more unfilial than lacking in progeny. Divorcing after 3 childless years was normal." She asked again, "How did you end up here?" "I only remember my family is in the north. I asked for directions northwards and walked for months, but never found it. I have no money left now." "No money? What did Wu Dong and them rob from you?" "Rob a woman in such ragged state? She didn't look the type." "A hairpin. It was the last of my dowry." Dong Shan agreed with a nod. "A gold hairpin." Wang Chunhua looked at Li Mingwei's honesty and frailty, and believed her story somewhat. She led her into the room to sit down and ladled her some watery rice porridge. Li Mingwei put down her bowl and chopsticks and thought for a moment. "I know how to embroider flowers and make pastries." Wang Chunhua looked at her appraisingly. "Embroidery, that's good. Let me boil some water for you. Clean up. I'll bring you to the embroidery workshop later. Looking like this, no one will hire you." Li Mingwei hesitated but nodded when she met Wang Chunhua's expectant gaze. Wang Chunhua and Dong Shan looked at each other in disbelief when they saw the transformed Li Mingwei. The girl looked 18 at most. Her skin was white, her face exquisite like a painting, her cherry lips naturally red without rouge. Her waist was slender yet full of curves. She was delicate and beautiful as a flower. Wang Chunhua laughed with smile lines at the corners of her eyes. She took Li Mingwei's hand and stroked it over and over, even caressing her cheek. "Oh, this little face is so soft. With your petite figure, how could your husband bear to divorce you?" Dong Shan was wondering the same thing. If he had a wife as pretty as her, even if she couldn't have children, Having her at home to look at would be comforting. Why divorce? He has children with another woman out there, and plans to bring her into the household. So disgusting. Men are all wretched creatures. Wang Chunhua stomped on Dong Shan's foot and glared at him. Dong Shan was quite innocent, and hopped away while rubbing his foot. His wife had such strength. After chatting briefly with Li Mingwei, Wang Chunhua felt some pity for her. She had Li Mingwei sit down, then went to the backyard to tidy up a room for her. The room was small, with only a bed and some odds and ends piled around it. Wang Chunhua cleared away the dust and laid down some straw and clean sheets and blankets for her. Gripping Li Mingwei's hand, she said, "This is the best our home can offer. Please bear with it." Li Mingwei bowed deeply to her. "Thank you, sister. I'm already very grateful that you're willing to take me in." Wang Chunhua helped Li Mingwei to her feet. "You're too polite, girl." Having secured shelter, Li Mingwei also felt some relief. She took out her dirty clothes from her bundle, planning to wash them. She was currently wearing clothes Wang Chunhua had found for her that didn't fit very well. There happened to be a well in the backyard, so she drew up some water, but the buckets were too heavy, and she could only manage to fill half a bucket at a time. She hadn't managed to fill up the whole washing basin even after all that effort. Wang Chunhua brought her some soap and saw her struggling. Somewhat impatiently, she grabbed the bucket, tossed it into the well, and hauled up a whole bucket full of water for Li Mingwei. "Seeing you now, I guess you haven't done much labor before." Li Mingwei was somewhat embarrassed and didn't dare meet her gaze. "My husband's family did some business, and we had a few servants at home." Wang Chunhua nodded. Seeing the rope marks on Li Mingwei's hands from the bucket, she simply squatted down herself and started scrubbing the clothes while Li Mingwei hurried over. "Sister, let me do it." "Oh, never mind. It's just 2 garments. I'll have them washed in a moment. Go check on my little daughter for me. I think I heard her crying just now." Li Mingwei had never cared for a child before. Even the children of Li Mingwei's siblings had been looked after by their nursemaids. But she couldn't dissuade Wang Chunhua and reluctantly entered the house. The toddler girl had climbed out of bed herself. Her tousled hair stuck out and she sat on the bed bawling, her nose and cheeks somewhat red. Seeing it wasn't her mother, she cried even harder. Wah! She couldn't speak words yet, only able to express her grief with cries. Li Mingwei tremblingly approached her, smoothing the girl's hair and taking her into her arms to comfort her. "Don't cry, don't cry." But the child only struggled harder against Li Mingwei, whose forehead was beaded with anxious sweat. "Can you be good?" Wah! Hearing this from the yard, Wang Chunhua sighed. Indeed, she had never cared for a child before. Calling out, she said, "Carry her to the kitchen. I left some rice porridge for her." "All right." Holding the child, Li Mingwei entered the kitchen and freed a hand to lift the lid of the big iron pot. Taking out the still warm porridge inside, she tested the temperature before bringing a small spoonful to the child's lips. "No more tears now. We're going to eat." The child's cry slowly subsided as she looked somewhat disdainfully at the tear tracks and snot on her face. Li Mingwei found a handkerchief to clean her up. After washing the clothes, Wang Chunhua came to observe Li Mingwei feeding the child. Seeing her impatient expression, she worried what kind of work could possibly suit her. Her family was not well off either, and she was an adult who would need a supply of food. It would be difficult for Wang Chunhua to permanently house her like this. "You said you can do embroidery." "Yes? Let me tidy up the child and I'll take you to the embroidery workshop." "All right." In an astoundingly short time, Wang Chunhua had changed the child's clothes and strapped her to her back to head out. In less than a few minutes, a group had gathered around them. Wang Chunhua, "Who's this?" "Yes, haven't seen her before." Li Mingwei lowered her head while Wang Chunhua glanced at her before shielding Li Mingwei behind her. She said loudly, "What's there to stare at? Haven't seen a pretty girl before? This is my maternal cousin staying with me for a few days." Li Mingwei was stunned. When had she become Wang Chunhua's cousin? The townspeople were also confused. Wang Chunhua had married over here 7 or 8 years ago, and they had never seen this cousin of hers. "Maternal cousin? We've met all your maternal uncles and brothers. Don't recall ever seeing this cousin though. You all wouldn't know her. She's a rather distant relative. I was still small back then." Her mother, my maternal aunt, eloped with a businessman and never came back after. My whole family thought she was dead. This lass was divorced by her in-laws with nowhere to go, so she came looking for us herself. I didn't even recognize her at first until she gave her name. That's when I remembered. What about her parents then? Wang Chunhua shook her head regretfully. Don't know. Her father's business failed back then and he married her off for some money before running away himself. Li Mingwei had to admire Wang Chunhua's skill at spinning tales, although she still didn't understand why she lied like this. A few elderly women came forward to inspect Li Mingwei, looking her up and down. What did you do wrong to get divorced? Wang Chunhua waved them off, saying it was nothing much and not to ask, but she bent down to whisper into one old woman's ear. Infertile. Her husband already had children with another woman. The old woman clucked her tongue sympathetically. What a pity for the lass. She released her grip on Li Mingwei. Seeing the woman let go, Wang Chunhua hurriedly exchanged a few more words before leading Li Mingwei away. Once out of earshot, she explained, folks in small towns like this are so distrustful of outsiders. If I didn't make up some connection between us, who knows what rumors they'd start spreading. From now on when people ask, just repeat what I said just now. No one from my maternal side knows them well anyway, so they won't find out I lied. That old biddy runs the matchmaking service in town. Gossips all day, so I told her you were infertile. Then she won't come bother you about it. Wang Chunhua herself had suffered much grievance upon marrying over from her village, but her temper ran hot, and she would curse right back and hit anyone who bullied her. With her husband Dong Shan's fighting skills protecting her as well, the harassment had eventually died down over time. Li Mingwei nodded obediently. I'll remember all that. Seeing her complacent manner, Wang Chunhua sighed again. Don't let people walk all over you just because you're soft-spoken. Some people only respond to curses and blows. If you can't out-curse or out-hit them, then come tell me. I'll retaliate on your behalf. Don't suffer in silence. Give them an inch. They'll trample all over you and shit on your head tomorrow. Li Mingwei smiled. She understood the logic well enough, but had no idea how to actually curse at someone. Chapter 8. Li Mingwei looked at the booth in front of her that was only the size of a door, and doubted life a little. Along the way, she had seen embroidery shops this small, but calling it an embroidery house was a bit much. What are you staring for? Go in. Wang Chunhua strode in and yelled to the back. Miss Yu, are you there? Someone inside quickly responded. Yes. Wait a moment. Li Mingwei's gaze swept over the fabrics on the shelves, most of which were very dull colors. This was really different from what she had imagined. Fabrics like these didn't even need embroidering, like the one she was wearing, and the one Wang Chunhua was wearing. They were just simple cuts, without any designs. Even she could make clothes like these. Female embroiderer Yu soon came out from the inside. She had her hair up in a mature woman's bun, with silver hairpins, and was dressed appropriately. She looked very shrewd. She sized up Li Mingwei, while Li Mingwei sized her up too. Judging by her outfit, she was among the best dressed in this town. Who's this? Wang Chunhua introduced Li Mingwei's background again, then said, my sister doesn't know anything. She can just embroider a little. Take a look if there's any work you can give her to do. She's alone and has no money. How can she live? Miss Yu nodded and went behind the counter. Do you know how to make clothes? Not very well. So you only know how to embroider? Seeing Li Mingwei nod, Miss Yu took out some handkerchiefs and purses from under the counter and asked her, what kind of flowers can you embroider? She knew a lot of these. Plum, orchid, bamboo, chrysanthemum, peony, rose, peony, basically all of them. Miss Yu raised her brows. How about mandarin ducks, cuckoos and other living things? Yes. Seeing her so confident, Miss Yu took out a white handkerchief and brought her to the back to get her threads of various colors, and let her demonstrate. Since people wanted to see her skills, Li Mingwei thought she shouldn't make it too simple. She embroidered a multicolored peony, which took some time, but Miss Yu watched her needlework the whole time. Not bad, very skilled, and the color matching looks good too. Miss Yu praised her first, then said, I can see you must have come from a good family. Some things I don't need to say explicitly. Qingxi town is small and poor after all. Complex designs like these will lose money. You spent a lot of effort on it, and surely don't want to sell it cheap. But the spending power here is limited. Just embroider simpler designs in the future. Keep this one here for now. If someone wants something like this, I'll give you a better price for it. Miss Yu went back out and got her a dozen white handkerchiefs and some blank purses. Embroider these first. Anything you want. Just a simple corner on the kerchiefs will do. The purses can be more complex. Wang Chunhua moved closer. How much will you pay? Miss Yu thought for a moment. 5 coins for each handkerchief. 15 coins for each purse. If you put in more effort and the designs are nice, I can pay you a little more. Wang Chunhua wasn't very satisfied. The price for the purses is fine. but isn't the price for the handkerchiefs too low? Ms. Yu took out a set of needles and threads and handed them to the girls. I'm also providing the needles and threads. This should be fine, right? Only then did Wang Chunhua nod, collecting the needles, threads, handkerchiefs, etc. All right, it's a deal. My sister will embroider them and bring them to you when they're done. Great. Come get more needles and threads directly when you run out. Li Mingwei thanked Ms. Yu, then followed Wang Chunhua out. Seeing her a little unhappy, Wang Chunhua guessed what was on her mind. Don't think it's too little. This is already a good price. Li Mingwei pouted without replying. She never thought her skills would be so cheap. We're just a small town. Can't compare to bigger cities. She can only sell a handkerchief for a dozen or so coins after all the material costs. She can't earn much either. Just embroider simpler like she said. 5 coins per piece. 10 pieces is 50 coins. Enough to buy several caddies of meat. After this persuasion, Wang Chunhua clapped her hands. Oh right, I was thinking of going to the market to buy some meat to make for you. It's this late already. Let's hurry, or all the good meat will be gone. Wang Chunhua pulled Li Mingwei to jog towards the market. They were only at the embroidery house for a short while, but many people in town already knew Wang Chunhua had a new sister. Chunhua, this is your cousin. She's so pretty. Just down on her luck. Oh, I'm in a hurry to buy meat. I'll chat more later. Wang Chunhua pushed past them to squeeze out of the crowd, while Li Mingwei smiled awkwardly at them before catching up. Some teased. Now that her sister's here, even Wang Chunhua is being generous, willing to buy meat. Right. Wang Chunhua completely ignored them, and ran to the meat stall. Sure enough, only inferior meat was left. She looked at the frail Li Mingwei, and still carefully picked a small piece. Weigh this for me. Sure. The owner grinned, cut her a piece, and threw it on the scale. 1.5 caddies. I'll just count it as 1. How about 12 coins? Wang Chunhua beamed. You're being generous today. The owner smiled at her, then looked at Li Mingwei. Your sister just got here. Visitors are guests. I'll give you a discount today. Come often. Li Mingwei smiled sweetly. Thank you, big brother. You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. Wang Chunhua rolled her eyes. Being pretty was useful after all. Even misers were willing to make concessions. She pulled Li Mingwei to walk further. The stalls on both sides were villagers from nearby selling vegetables. Theirs were fresh and cheap. They only had some cabbage at home, so they still needed to buy more. How much for these sweet potato tips? 1 coin per bunch. Quite cheap. And the old lady had picked them quite tenderly too. She squatted down and picked 2 bunches. Just as she was taking out money, someone else came over. Wang Chunhua looked up and saw it was an acquaintance. So she greeted, Old Lady Wang. Done with work. Old Lady Wang nodded. Without responding, she glanced at Li Mingwei, and also squatted down. How much per bunch? 1 coin per bunch. Old Lady Wang frowned. Can it be cheaper? The vegetable-selling granny was a little helpless. How can I give you cheaper? Each bunch is not small already. Li Mingwei was also surprised. These were big bunches. 1 coin was quite cheap already. Sister Wang Chunhua didn't bargain. How could this old lady still think it expensive? However, looking at the old lady's gaunt face, frail body, and washed-out clothes, she didn't say anything. There were many people who lived hard lives in this world. One shouldn't judge others by one's own standards. Old Lady Wang stood up. Just a little cheaper. I'm buying 3 bunches. Take off 1 coin for me. How about it? The vegetable-selling granny sighed. All right. Just because it's you. I would never do this for others. Wang Chunhua didn't care what they were saying. She paid for her own veggies, took her 2 bunches, and signaled to Li Mingwei with her eyes. Let's go. Chapter 9. Wang Chunhua took the dishes from Li Mingwei's hands and walked away with her, stopping when there weren't so many people around before asking, why did you give her a bigger discount? Wang Chunhua halted and pointed to a small courtyard to the right of the street. That's Old Lady Wang's home. With Li Mingwei's eyesight, she could naturally see that this courtyard was probably older than the Dong families. The gates were closed so she couldn't see inside. She just saw that the tiled roof had been damaged at some point, and was simply patched up with straw. Can't even afford to replace the tiles. That's right, Wang Chunhua said. Her husband died early. She doesn't have many skills. She washes clothes and cooks for others, not only raising her child but even supporting him through school. Now her son has passed the county exam and become a scholar, so the county gives him 2 taels of silver and some rice every month. Her life is better than before. but her son still has to go to the capital to take the imperial exam, so there are still many expenses. She can only scrimp and save. Speaking to hear, Wang Chunhua's face revealed some hopeful expectation. If Arlei could also pass the county exam and become a scholar, no matter how hard I had to suffer, I'd be willing. She patted the daughter on her back and laughed. And find a good husband for our little Yinger, then I'd have no regrets for this lifetime. Li Mingwei was puzzled. Passing the county exam didn't seem that hard to her. She had even practiced the provincial and palace exams before. Her grandfather had graded them for her and said while she wouldn't rank first, she could at least pass and become a Jinshi scholar. Why was it so difficult for them to even pass the county exam and become a scholar? She didn't understand, but she also didn't say anything, silently following Wang Chunhua back home. They had just stepped through the door and hadn't even had a drink of water yet when a group of chattering people crowded around the Dong family's gates. Impossible to ignore. What are you all squeezing at my gate for? A girl holding shoe pads was pushed to the front. Sister Chunhua, are you busy right now? If not, let's chat together. Yes. I just learned a new embroidery pattern. Sister Chunhua, why don't you come learn it too? Although she knew they were here for Li Mingwei, Wang Chunhua didn't have the heart to drive them away, as the saying goes. Do not hit a smiling face. So she let them in and brought out stools for them. Seeing they had brought things, Li Mingwei also took out the handkerchief she was embroidering for the embroidery workshop. I'm going to cook. My sister just got here. Don't bully her. Sister Chunhua, what are you talking about? Right, what do you take us for? Wang Chunhua didn't believe them one bit, and gave them a warning look before leaving. As soon as she left, the girls crowded around Li Mingwei, shooting questions at her one after another. What's your name? How old are you? Where's your family from? Li Mingwei smiled. My name is Mingwei. I'm 19 this year. Ming? Never heard of that surname before. 19? I'm already 17. You look younger than me. Li Mingwei casually answered all their questions while concentrating on her needlework. After all, this was going to be sold for money. She couldn't be distracted. You embroider so well. Can you teach me? Li Mingwei nodded with a smile. I can, but this is work I took on commission, so I can't let you practice on it. Bring your own handkerchief another day and I'll teach you then. Okay, I'll come back another day. Seeing the girl was also continuously working on the shoe pad in her hands, Li Mingwei returned the praise. Your shoe pad looks very good too. I don't know how to make them. Then I'll teach you another day too. Wang Chunhua peeked out from the kitchen to take a look. Seeing Mingwei chatting happily with the neighbors put her at ease. She quickly finished cooking and called from the kitchen. The girls tactfully took their leave while she politely tried to keep them a few more times before seeing them out the door. At the dinner table, she put an extra piece of meat in Li Mingwei's bowl and asked her, what do you think? They're good to get along with, right? Very good. That's good then. Seeing her face was normal, Wang Chunhua let her eat while first feeding her young daughter before starting on her own meal. After Li Mingwei finished eating and put down her utensils, she suddenly remembered, isn't Big Brother Dong and Little Lei coming back to eat? They're not coming back. Your big brother went to help out at my parents' place. After finishing there, he still has to go to his uncle's place. It'll be a few days before he gets back. Lei eats at school. Li Mingwei nodded. No wonder Dong Shan had taken luggage with him when he left this morning. She helped clear up the bowls and chopsticks. Seeing Wang Chunhua put the leftovers into a basket and lower it into the well, she looked at the sun. Although it was early autumn, it was still rather hot. Sister Chunhua, does it snow here in winter? It does. Very heavily too. Freezing cold that you want to die. Where you lived before didn't snow. It did too. I just don't know how it compares to here. After tying up the rope tightly, Wang Chunhua straightened up and looked at the tree in the yard that was already starting to lose leaves. Winter was almost here again. With one more person this year, she'd have to stock up on more vegetables. She looked at Li Mingwei. You don't have any winter clothes yet, right? I'll have to make you a couple later. Li Mingwei came back to herself. That's right. She didn't even have a decent set of clothes right now, yet she was dreaming of watching the snow. Not freezing would already be pretty good. I'll start embroidering handkerchiefs now and earn money for clothes as fast as I can. Seeing her hurrying, Wang Chunhua smiled. It's fine. I'll loan you some first. You can pay me back after earning money. Staring at embroidery for too long is bad for your eyes too. I can't do that. She had already delayed them long enough. The Dongs weren't that well off either. She couldn't spend their money. After working hard stitching for many days, Li Mingwei finally finished embroidering that batch of handkerchiefs and over 10 pouch bags. She neatly folded them one by one and prepared to bring them to the workshop. Just as she stepped out the door, she heard a familiar voice. It really does look good. I've lost out by not doing anything to her back then. Li Mingwei followed the voice and saw it was the few men who had snatched her gold hairpin a while ago. Feeling a surge of disgust, she immediately turned around and re-entered the yard. Seeing her poor expression, Wang Chunhua immediately walked over with concern. What happened? Li Mingwei shook her head. Wang Chunhua went past her and directly opened the yard gates. Seeing Wu Dong and his gang, her expression instantly clouded over and she grabbed a wooden staff from the yard, rushing over to whack them. Scram! My sister is not someone lowlifes like you should be eyeing. I still haven't settled accounts with you for snatching my sister's dowry. Hurry up and scram! The staff smacked towards Wu Dong and his men. The ones who didn't dodge in time still got whacked twice. The one who got hit couldn't stand the pain and said viciously, "Don't think we won't dare beat you just cause you're a woman." Wang Chunhua wasn't afraid in the slightest. Go on then. Go on. If you dare touch me, just wait till my husband gets back and see how he finishes you lot off. They had just been beaten up by Dong Shan a few days ago and didn't dare act too arrogantly now. And with Wang Chunhua yelling so loudly, quite a lot of onlookers had gathered. Being stared at by so many people when they were usually no better than street rats made them very uncomfortable. Lowering their heads, they quickly made their escape, waiting to take revenge another day when the chance arises. Chapter 10. A few people ran away looking crestfallen. Those who were on good terms with Dong's family then walked over. They had also heard what Wang Chunhua said just now. What did they rob from you? Wang Chunhua was fuming. She threw the stick on the ground and angrily shouted, "A hairpin! It was my sister-in-law's last dowry. Luckily my husband managed to snatch it back. These shameless people are simply lawless." There were also many people in the crowd who had suffered at their hands. They were also indignant now that it was brought up. A auntie close to the Dongs pulled Li Mingwei over. "You're an unmarried girl. Don't offend them. Be extra careful when you go out alone now that your brother-in-law is away." "That's right. There are so many of them. If you really provoke them, you two women won't get any good out of it." Li Mingwei nodded slightly. She was in a weak position now. "Thank you, auntie. I'll bear that in mind." Wang Chunhua took off her apron and closed the door behind her. "Let me go with you. Little Swallow is still at home." "It's fine. She's asleep. We'll go and return quickly." After bidding everyone farewell, the two quickened their pace and arrived at the embroidery workshop. Female embroiderer Yu checked the handkerchiefs one by one and took out an abacus to calculate the payment with them. "You embroider quite fast. In total, it's 520 yuan." Wang Chunhua was pleasantly surprised. She clasped her hands. It had only been a few days but she had earned a lot. She took the money and exclaimed, "Oh my, by the way, measure her and make a winter coat for her. Winter is almost here." Female embroiderer Yu nodded. "All right, come to the back." She took out a measuring tape and measured Li Mingwei's height and 3 circumferences. Sighing, "You're too thin. The winter coat will have to be made substantial, otherwise you won't be able to leave the house in winter." Wang Chunhua didn't hesitate at all. "Okay, make it thick for her. How much will it cost?" Female embroiderer Yu let them pick the fabric first before calculating the price. "This fabric isn't expensive either. I'll charge you 300 yuan in total." 300 yuan. Wang Chunhua calculated it in her head. She gave all 520 yuan back to female embroiderer Yu. "Make 2 coats. She can alternate between them. I'll give you the remaining 80 yuan another day." Li Mingwei shook her head again and again. "There's no need, Sister Chunhua. 1 coat will be enough." Wang Chunhua brushed her aside in disapproval. "Whether it's done early or late, it still has to be done. You can't only have 1 coat for the entire winter." Although Li Mingwei didn't want it, she had been living at the Dongs for so long, she still wanted to pay Wang Chunhua some lodging fees. Now she owed them money again. Female embroiderer Yu watched them with a smile as she put away the money. "All right, stop arguing. I'll still look for you when I have work. You'll earn it back quickly." Li Mingwei looked at the basket full of handkerchiefs. "There are so many. It'll take a long time to sell them." "Don't worry, I have no shortage of buyers." It wasn't right for Li Mingwei to ask too much about others' business. She thanked her and left with Wang Chunhua. Only then did Wang Chunhua remember something. She felt a little glum. "I forgot. Her husband also has a shop in the county town. She must be taking them to the county town to sell. The handkerchiefs in the county town aren't priced like this. We were already selling each for 5 wen cheaply. Li Mingwei didn't care. She only embroidered flowers with no risks. They ran businesses which carried risks. If the goods remained unsold, it would be their loss. People undertaking higher risks also earned more. There was nothing wrong with that. She advised, "Don't get angry anymore, Sister Chunhua. Let's hurry back. Little Swallow is still home alone." Only then did Wang Chunhua not say any more. She skipped back home. To tell the truth, Li Mingwei was still a little delighted to earn so much money at one go. Not to mention much. If she could take on such work once or twice every month, that would be 1 or 2 taels a month. 10 odd taels a year if she thought about it. It was beautiful. However, doing this non-stop was still tiring for Li Mingwei. She had decided to take it slower next time. Auntie, it's time to eat." Li Mingwei opened her eyes to Dong Lei's round eyes. She pinched the flesh on his chubby cheeks and laughed. "You're back." She must have slept for a very long time. Just got back. Mother asked me to call you to eat first before sleeping again." "All right. Auntie will get up now." Wang Chunhua had laid out the bowls and chopsticks. She sat at the table waiting for them. She yawned. Suddenly she also felt a little sleepy. Li Mingwei was tired and so was she. These days when Dong Shan was away, she had chopped all the firewood at home. She picked some meat for her son with her chopsticks. "Wonder when your dad will be back." Li Mingwei smiled. "Is Sister Chunhua missing elder brother Dong?" Wang Chunhua was unusually shy. She said awkwardly, "Oh, a little." Dong Lei laughed loudly. "Of course. There's no one to chop firewood when dad isn't home. Yesterday mother was tired from chopping firewood while scolding people. Ha ha ha." Embarrassed by being exposed by her son, Wang Chunhua was a little angry. She glared at her son. "Hurry up and eat. Do your homework after eating. The teacher told me your homework has been no good several times. Just you wait for your dad to come back and see how he'll deal with you." Dong Lei hung his head with his heart thumping wildly. Not only was he scolded in class for his bad homework, the teacher even told his family. That was going overboard. Seeing his expression, Li Mingwei couldn't help but laugh. After the meal, she went to take a look at Dong Lei's schoolwork out of concern. She had been embroidering after meals these days and hadn't paid much attention to it. She flipped through Dong Lei's books. They were the 1,000-character classic, the 3-character classic, and the Analects of Confucius. They were all enlightening books for children and suitable for his age. Dong Lei had just started school not long ago. He was still learning how to write. Following the strokes in the book, he dipped his brush in ink and slowly copied them on paper. Seeing that his writing was terrible, Li Mingwei frowned. She held his little claws. "This character isn't written like that. There's a sequence to writing words. Write this stroke first, then that stroke." Dong Lei didn't really understand, but he moved his little hand along with Li Mingwei's. Soon he realized his words were becoming neater. "Auntie, you're so awesome." Li Mingwei taught him the proper way to hold the brush and apply force. She changed the paper for him and let him write by himself. Dong Lei was a little nervous. He slowly wrote according to the instructions, but Li Mingwei was staring at him intently. He panicked and forgot the stroke order again. His hand shook. "Auntie, don't stare at me. I'm so scared." That was how teacher stared at him in school. Why was Auntie staring at him like this when he was home? Li Mingwei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How would I know if you're writing correctly if I don't watch you? Hurry up and don't dawdle. It'll be dark soon." "That's right. Don't dawdle. Listen to your auntie and hurry up with writing. It'll be dark soon and we'll have to light the lamps. That's wasting lamp oil." Wang Chunhua rushed out from the kitchen to join in admonishing her son. She had actually been watching them for a long time. She didn't know Li Mingwei could even read and write. She seemed rather reliable. Her husband had really struck gold this time.